Hello Keyforgers, before we get into today's video I just want to share with you an update on the deck ownership issues that I was having. I did get a response from Ghost Galaxy. It was from the marketing coordinator. They said thank you for reaching out and they apologised for the delayed response. It's a very busy time for them. They've got lots of duties that pull them in all different areas. They said they understand the frustration, but they did ask that I do go through the standard Master Vault deck ownership escalation process. They said that will allow them to dive into the information on their systems to see what is going on, and then they'll reach out with anything further after that, which I thought was weird because we opened the deck on video and I sent them a link to the video where I opened the deck, but I did it for all three of the decks that had already had ownership. It cost me 1 amber per deck, so I spent 3 amber, and then today I got a deck claim denied notification, funnily enough, for Gunsmith, Geirny, Zierfel, which was our Amberling deck. Now the email said my deck claim for ownership had been rejected. If I was the owner of the physical deck and I wished to escalate it further, I had to follow another process. So I thought, I'm going to follow it through. Well, it turns out that I had to download a form, then print the form, take a picture of 5 specific cards and 1 random card back, against a QR code that was generated, and then send that off or submit that to Ghost Galaxy for them to look at. Now that cost me 10 amber, so already I've spent 13 amber, 11 of it just on 1 deck. I don't think I'll get that back. I'm pretty sure that other person is going to have to do the same if they don't want to lose deck ownership, and if they do, then what happens? I'm not sending my deck to America. I'm going there in November. I'll take it with me. I think it's clear that there are 2 decks with the same name out there now. And yeah, I open a lot of decks, so I don't mind losing a few amber shards. It's annoying to me, but it's not the end of the world. But if you've got someone who doesn't open that many decks and wants to attend a lot of the tournaments where they require vault keys, it becomes a bit of an issue. So I'm following the process. I'll see what happens. I will keep you informed. Back to today's deck. So we have Consistently Personable Ernst. It's the Prospector deck in Equidon with Mars and Unfathomable. Bottom card coming out because that is the deck list. If we turn over, there we have the Prospector, 1 power, destroy to draw a card. One of the only token creatures I feel that doesn't have a downside. Many others have things like can't reap, like the Ambling, and a lot of the other token creatures, the more powerful ones with the higher power and the high armor, tend to have cards put in the deck that are a detriment. This one doesn't. We're starting out with Equidon, and we have Ornate Talking Tray. It's an artifact. You get an amber when you play it, and this has an enhanced amber. Omni ability of destroy Ornate Talking Tray, make a token creature. Generous Offer is an action. Play, destroy a friendly creature. If you do, steal 2 amber. Gemcoat Vendor, 6 power. This one has an enhanced amber pip. Action, steal 1 amber, deal 1 damage to Gemcoat Vendor. The Recruiter, 4 power. After Reap, make a token creature. Belligerent Guard, 8 power. Enters play ready. Play, your opponent draws a card. Trade Secrets is an action. Play, discard any number of Equidon cards from your hand. Steal 1 amber for each card discarded this way. A second Trade Secrets. Swapper, 1 power, 5 armor. After fight, swap control of this creature and the creature it fights. Both creatures must survive the fight. Out-Negotiate is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, choose a card in your opponent's discard pile. Steal amber equal to the number of amber bonus icons on that card and put that card on the bottom of its owner's deck. Market Crash is an action. Play, destroy each non-token creature. Gain 2 chains. Exoshell System is an artifact. It has a damage enhancement. Play, make a token creature. Each friendly token creature gains elusive. And Cursed Relic is an artifact. It puts 6 amber enhancements in the deck. You cannot play Cursed Relic. Cursed Relic cannot be discarded from your hand except through card abilities. And now on to Mars. Scoop Up is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, put a friendly non-Mars creature and an enemy non-Mars creature into your archives. If that enemy creature will leave your archives, return it to its owner's hand instead. Mark II Generator is an artifact. It got an enhanced amber pip. It enters play ready with the action, make a token creature. Onyx Propaganda is an upgrade. You get an amber when you play it. This creature gains after fight, after reap, make a token creature. Weaponsmith, 4 power, 1 armor. It put 2 damage and 1 draw enhancement in the deck. Clone Home is an action. It got that draw enhancement. Play, make a token creature. If there are more friendly creatures than enemy creatures, archive Clone Home. Ammonia Clouds is an action. Play, deal 3 damage to each creature. Zizonk, 3 power with an enhanced amber pip. Skirmish and splash attack 1. After an enemy creature is destroyed by Zizonk's splash attack damage, ready Zizonk. Yixel the Iron Captain, 4 power, 1 armor. Play, each friendly Onyx creature captures 2 amber. Memorex the Red, 5 power. Your opponent's cards cannot leave your archives. Action, gain 1 amber for each card in your archives. Crystal Hive is an artifact. Action, for the remainder of the turn, gain 1 amber after a creature reaps. Hypnotic Command is an action. It got an enhanced amber pip. Play, for each friendly Mars creature, choose an enemy creature to capture 1 amber from its own side. Grondel, 9 power, 2 armor. Play, make 2 token creatures. At the start of your turn, destroy the least powerful creature. And finally on to Unfathomable. Maelstrom is an action. It got an enhanced amber and damage pip. Play, put each creature on top of its owner's deck in a random order. Gain 2 chains. Initiation is an action. Play, make a token creature. If you have fewer than 4 cards in your hand, archive Initiation. Fathom Reaver, 4 power. Play, make a token creature. While you control a token creature, your opponent refills the hand to 1 less card during the draw card step. Befuddle is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, choose a house on your opponent's identity card. During their next turn, they cannot play cards of other houses. Adult Swim is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, put each creature with power 3 or lower on top of its owner's deck in a random order. Abyssal Sight is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, destroy a friendly creature. If you do, look at your opponent's hand and choose a card from it. That player discards that card. A second Abyssal Sight. Under Pressure is an upgrade. You get an amber when you play it. This creature cannot reap. Fugaroo, 1 power with poison. Your opponent refills their hand to 1 less card during the draw card step. Illusions of Grandeur is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, choose a house on your opponent's identity card. If your opponent does not choose that house as their active house on their next turn, gain 3 amber. Sybil Waymare, 5 power. At the start of your opponent's turn, that player discards the top card of their deck and exhausts each creature of that card's house. Offering to Kilagog is an artifact. 2 Omni abilities. The first one, destroy a friendly creature. If you do, choose a creature in your discard pile, place it face down under Offering to Kilagog. Second Omni ability, make each card under Offering to Kilagog a token creature as if the card was on top of your deck. And there we have it. Let's take a closer look. As always, we'll start with a breakdown. There were 12 creatures, 16 actions, 6 artifacts and 2 upgrades. There was 10 printed amber in the deck. 6 of it was enhanced, so actually the printed amber in this deck was only 4, which is very, very low. We had 2 damage enhancements and 1 draw enhancement as well. There were 10 cards that dealt with token generation, which is quite good considering we got one of the very good token cards, the Prospector. I'll start with amber control. In Mars we had the Iron Captain. Play effect of each friendly Onyx creature captures 2 amber. Sadly, they are the only Onyx creature, so they're the only ones that will capture 2 amber. So it's a straight play capture 2. We had Hypnotic Command, which had one of those enhanced amber pips. For each friendly Mars creature, choose an enemy creature to capture 1 amber from its own side. Now that's quite nice. And it also doesn't specify that the cards have to be ready, which a lot of the previous Mars cards that act like that did. The rest of the control was in Equidon. We had 2 trade secrets. An action where you discard any number of Equidon cards from your hand and steal 1 for each card discarded this way. Now, it is a very good way of getting that cursed relic out of our hand, and stealing an amber. In most games, if I had quite a big hand of Equidon cards, I would just do that, because I could straight steal 4 or 5 amber. It was a very, very big switch. There were a few cards in Equidon that you might not want to use with trade secrets, and that was Generous Offer, which again is an action to destroy a friendly creature. Yes please, I'll destroy a Prospector and draw a card. I'll just make sure that I reap with it first, and then if we do, we steal 2 amber. We had Out-Negotiate. Another action, you choose a card in your opponent's discard pile and steal amber equal to the number of amber bonus icons on that card, and then you put that card on the bottom of their deck. So not only do you steal, but you also put probably a highly valuable card, or you could do it for any card and put it on the bottom of your opponent's deck, most preferably after they've already shuffled, so it's going to take them a long time to draw into it. And finally we had the Gemcoat Vendor, which had one of those enhanced amber pips. 6 power, so a nice beefy creature with an action of steal 1, but it takes 1 damage. No scaling amber control, but 2 very big spikes with those 2 trade secrets, which I'm going to put there. Anything steal counts towards expected amber. In Mars we had Memorex the Red. I love this card. 5 power. Your opponent's cards cannot leave your archives. That's a passive effect. So if we have our opponent's cards in our archives, we can call our archives, draw only our cards into our hand, and not have to give the cards we've taken from our opponent back into their hand. There's also an action on Memorex the Red. Gain 1 for each card in your archives. We do have Initiation, Clone Home, and Scoop Up, which will put cards in our archives. I don't think it's ever going to be a big amount of amber, and if we have the Crystal Hive in play, we might just want to reap with Memorex anyway to gain 2. Speaking of which, there's the Crystal Hive. Action for the remainder of the turn, gain 1 after a creature reaps. So it's not reap gain 2, it's reap gain 1 and then gain 1 from Crystal Hive. There's that Cursed Relic. Again, trade secrets, a very nice way to get that out of our hand. Ideally, we would probably like to tokenize it, but our tokens, we tend to cycle quite quickly. But at least it will make sure it's in the discard pile and it won't spend so much time in our hands. We had the Belligerent Guard. Hefty 8 power creature that enters play ready, so we could reap with it, we could attack with it. It has that play effect though, to counteract that good effect, that your opponent will draw a card. And finally, in Unfathomable, which I think might be one of my new favourite houses for Winds of Exchange, and I think there'd be Unfathomable, Mars and Brobnar, but there we go. This one is play, choose a house on your opponent's identity card. If your opponent does not choose that house as their active house on the next turn, gain 3 amber. I did use this in my games to try and prevent my opponent from picking a certain house. If it's played against us on this deck, it's very nice for setting up a trade secrets. Because we'll pick the house we want to pick. If they've picked Ecrodon, we'll pick it, give them 3 amber, and then we'll trade secrets, steal it back. There was no artifact control, sadly, but we did have creature control. In Mars we had Zazoink. 3 power skirmish with splash attack 1, and it hit one of those enhanced amber pips. Nice passive ability here, with after an enemy creature is destroyed by Zazoink splash attack damage, ready Zazonk. So if your opponent has a 1 power creature, that is probably not a Prospector, this can do quite a bit of damage. If we do generate quite a few Prospectors, what we can do is clear our own board with Ammonia Cloud and have a nice spike in our hand size. And there's that Scoop Up. Put a friendly non-Mars creature and an enemy non-Mars creature into your archives. So it can't be one of our Mars, can't be one of their Mars. If we don't have any creatures in play and they do, we can still use this card. And then it says if we call our archives, or if it would leave our archives, it gets returned to our owner's hand. But with Memorex the Red, it will stay in our archives. We had an almost board wipe with Market Crash in Ecrodon. Play, destroy each non-token creature, gain 2 chains. So that's a nice non-token ball clear there. Just be careful if you're playing Brobnar, because they've got some nasty creatures that allow you to generate token creatures from destroyed creatures, and then destroyed effects which return Brobnar creatures to your hand. It's absolutely nuts. But a lot of our control was in Unfathomable, and I'm loving it because it's kind of saying to Dis, hold my beer, I'll take over for you. We had Adult Swim. Put each creature with power 3 or lower on top of its owner's deck in a random order. If we accidentally token a Prospector that we want to draw into and it's only 1 or 2 on the board, this could help us. When I've played this deck, we don't tend to have that many creatures out at a time, so this will most likely benefit us more than our opponent. We had Waynmare, or Sybil. Again, a very nice passive effect that at the start of your opponent's turn, that player discards the top card of their deck and exhausts each creature of that card's house. Now that's yours and your opponent's, so if you're sharing houses, could be a little bit detrimental to you because you won't ready up until the end of your turn. And we had some returning favourites. Under Pressure, upgrade where the creature cannot ready. And then we had Maelstrom. Put each creature on top of its owner's deck in a random order, gain 2 chains. So an Adult Swim, that includes everyone, and that's why we get 2 chains. There was that Enhanced Amber and Damage Pip on there as well, so very nice for popping off a ward if your opponent has warded creatures before this effect takes place. The efficiency in the deck, well, we have a Prospector, so there you go, there's the efficiency. It's a creature that if it's left alive on the board because your opponent does not want you to draw cards, you are going to reap out. We had the 1 draw enhancement from the Weaponsmith, which just so happened to go on our other efficiency card of Clone Home. Make a token creature. If there are more friendly creatures than enemy creatures, we archive Clone Home. Put it in our archives does allow our Memorex the Red to action gain an additional amber. Market Crash, Maelstrom, and that Cursed Relic will obviously count against us in efficiency because we get chains from Maelstrom and Market Crash, and Cursed Relic we cannot discard without that trade secrets or another way of getting it out of our hand that is not a straight discard. Disruption, again we're going to go back to Unfathomable. Fuguru, opponent refills their hand to 1 less card during their draw step, and we have the same effect on Fathom Reaver if we have a token creature in play. And funnily enough, play effect of make a token creature. Both of these are out on the board and our opponent doesn't take care of them. That's 2 less cards they're drawing per turn. We had 2 Abyssal Sight. Destroy a friendly creature, Prospector, we draw a card, thank you very much. And then if we do, we look at our opponent's hand and choose a card from it and discard it. And then finally we had Befuddle. We choose a house on our opponent's identity card, and during their next turn they cannot play cards of other houses. So they can play cards of the house we choose. They can still choose the other 2 houses, they just can't play cards from them, but they'll be able to use cards that are already in play or discard cards from their hand. Can be a little confusing, so if someone's quite new to the game, just make sure you explain that before you play it. Some people I've played have ended up calling the wrong house. The other cards, I've got to highlight the offering to Kilogog. 2 Omni abilities. Number 1, destroy a friendly creature. If we do, we take a creature from our discard pile and place it under offering to Kilogog. And then as another Omni ability, we can take every card underneath offering of Kilogog and make it a token creature as if it was on top of our deck. Now I can see this working quite well with Blorbs and Blorb Hive, but it works really well with our Prospector as well because we ping our own creatures, we draw a card, we put it underneath, and then we can have a mass amount of token creatures on any turn because it's Omni, and then maybe we can Ammonia Cloud and draw another 6-7 cards. I think it's a very, very powerful artifact. The other Unfathomable card was the Initiation, make a token creature, and then if we have fewer than 4 cards in our hand, archive Initiation. We have a Prospector. We have to really think about our hand size if this is in our hand. In Mars, we had Grondor. 9 power, 2 armor, that's huge. When you play, you make 2 token creatures. It's got a very nice passive effect of at the start of your turn, destroy the least powerful creature. Ionix Propaganda. This creature gains, after fight, after reap, make a token creature. Mark II Generator, which enters play ready. Hit one of those enhanced amber pips. We can use it on the turn it comes down to make a token creature. In Ecuador, we had Exoshell System. It hit one of those damage enhancements, and when we play it, we make a token creature. Now for an artifact, it's a play effect, so there's not much there. it does have a passive effect of each token creature gains elusive. Elusive on our Prospectors, it means our opponent is probably even more less likely to take them out on our turn. I think this artifact works really well with the Shell token, which is quite hefty. We had the Swapper. 1 power, 5 armor after fight. Swap control of this creature with the creature it fights, but both need to survive that fight. The Recruiter. 4 power after Reap. Make a token creature. And we had another artifact, the Ornate Talking Tray. Hit one of those enhanced amber pips, so it's 2 amber when you play it. You can destroy it to make a token creature. I like this deck. It can hit hard and it can be very, very fast. It does struggle to get going if you don't draw the token generation early on. So I've had games where my opponent's got their second key and I haven't even got my first, but then I've come back and won because I can start cycling my deck a lot quicker. Trade secrets and discarding your Equidon cards are huge spikes. And that Kilogog, if your opponent does have artifact control, they're going to hold on to it till you play it. Because once it's worked a couple of times, they start to see, okay, I see what you're doing now. You're drawing a hell of a lot of cards at once, whilst also thinning out your deck. I'll leave a link in the Master Vault if you want to take it for a run on the Crucible. I don't know if they've fixed the issue with the tokens yet, but you're welcome to try. All that remains for me to say is good luck, have fun, keep forging.